Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. This is a NASEF and NACE live stream. We are excited to be here. We do this once a month where we chat with different leaders in the collegiate esports space and bring information about what is happening in the esports scene or how maybe you can prepare to be part of that when you're in high school. I'm Claire LeBeau. I am the Director of Communications at NASEF, which is the North America Scholastic Esports Federation. We started out about 4 years ago, and we had a little handful of teams in Southern California, and it was sort of a test project to see if esports was a great environment for learning. And flash forward, yes, it is indeed a fantastic environment for learning. And also, we've now grown. We're in 49 states and also have people participating in our programs from 61 countries, which just blows me away when I think about the scope and what has happened in the last few years. So I'm really happy to be joined by these leaders. We had a chance to chat for a couple of minutes, and I'm excited to hear what you all have to say. So let's just do a quick round robin of introductions. And Chris, we can start with you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Claire. Really happy and honored to be on this conversation this evening. My name is Chris Postel. I work in the Office of Innovation at the University of Cincinnati within our esports program and initiative. So great to be here.
Great. And Sari?
Sure. I'm Sari Keitlin. I oversee the esports efforts at Full Sail University. Been there going on 16 years and been building the esports program there for going on 7 years. It's been a really great experience. We've got a ton of grads that have gone to work in this space, so I'm really excited about the conversation today.
Awesome. 7 years in esports. I mean, Full Sail definitely was a leader and is still a leader. So that's a pretty long track record in this space. That's great.
Okay, my name is Matt Tarpley. I'm from McMurray University in Abilene, Texas. I'm the head of esports here for our varsity program. And this is my third year within EDU esports.
Awesome. That's cool. I'm looking at your background there. I see esports and then I see beyond the game. And boy, that is just a summary of what NASEF is all about. The games to us are the magnet, right? That's what students are interested in. But then there are so many ways that you can connect with them and teach them and go beyond the game and the aspects that are appealing in playing and gaming and learn real life skills and career skills. So that's really what we're here to focus on today. Our topic for today is how to participate in esports programs outside of competition. And we have some great conversation to come. So before we get to that outside of competition aspect, let me just ask a couple details about your program. So maybe we'll go in reverse order right now. So Matt, if you want to just take off and say what is the esports program like at your school? How many titles do you play? Do you offer scholarships? What else do kids participate in? That kind of thing.
Our campus here at McMurray is a super busy campus. It's like 60% of our campus is in athletics. Then you throw in band and theater, and that's like the majority of our campuses are already in extracurriculars. So esports is part of that. We're under athletics. We were running 6 different titles and 9 different teams this year. We'll be picking up another 3 games and 6 teams next year. We've doubled in size every year since we've started the program. It's we're kind of rural out in the middle of nowhere, so it's a good STEM input, and it's been super popular amongst the rural high schools and stuff as well to start up esports programs. It gets kids involved, and this is just kind of the next step in the progression along the way.
That's cool. And I'll give a shout out to our local affiliate. You mentioned earlier that you are on the board for TechSef, and I think they have their spring finals like this weekend coming up. So
yep.
Great things happening in TechSef and in all the NASEF affiliates around the country. But we certainly appreciate having the collegiate perspective. That is the goal, right? For all these kids in high school, it's college and then career beyond. So it's great to have your perspective added there. Sari, how about you? What is the esports program like at Full Sail?
Sure. So we're definitely a bit unique, especially in regards to comparison of like a traditional university. Full Sail is a specialized university that focuses on degrees in entertainment, media arts, and technology. So you're not going to necessarily find the traditional programs here. We've always been very specialized. So esports is what we have. I used to say it's our first athletic anything that we have, but now I just say it's our only, because I don't picture us having a competitive football team anytime soon. And so that's really it for us. So because that's kind of everything for us, our program is interesting because it's all encompassing. With the way our degree programs are set up, we have had a ton of grads that are working in this space for such a long time. So the forward-facing side of industry and preparing students for the industry is super important. We also love competing at the varsity level. You know, we always like to say we followed the students here in that regards. They were hacking LAN centers together and building lobbies long before we had any sort of formalized varsity gameplay. Because we have so many degree programs that are focused on gaming, gamers are a culture. We're surrounded by them. And so it's kind of taken over, which is great. And we love it. And it's phenomenal. And it's provided a ton of opportunity. So we're in an interesting point where, like, we don't have a student handbook. We don't have a Department of Athletics. We don't have any infrastructure. We don't have anything in regards to that. Getting started was interesting, and we've relied so heavily on the help of so many schools around us that have shared their handbooks and their policies and their procedures, and we're tweaking and we're learning. But esports was a first for us in that regards. And so in some ways we've been here for so long and been doing this from an industry perspective. And in other ways, this is the newest thing that we could have ever possibly experienced. And so balancing between the two has been really fun. But at this point in time, esports almost is all encompassing over all of our areas of focus within a staffing perspective. And probably will continue to be that way for, like, as far as I can see, I guess.
Right. Yeah. For such a young industry, and I mean, I use that lightly because obviously you've had, people have been playing games for a very, very long time. But the way that the esports industry is exploding right now, just so much opportunity. And it's kind of funny to hear you say, like, you've been around a long time and yet you were just founded yesterday in this aspect, I mean, that's kind of the way this goes. Is I think a lot of institutions are trying to figure out, how do you blend the history or what we do or what our expertise is, and then provide a pathway for students, because this is where it's at right now. Yep. Chris, how about you? What's the program like?
Yeah, well, I feel like that so many things you just said apply to us. I'm with the University of Cincinnati. We're the second largest college in the state of Ohio with about 48,000 students. We've had a club and a club sport for about 10 years. And this is our first year as an initiative in a program. So kind of talking about that, it's been here a while. We're fresh off the block. That's me. That's us. We're new. But we're not, but we are. How does that work? In our view, we approach esports in a consortium manner, meaning that we have multiple departments that are involved in the governance and the structuring and the execution implementation of esports at the university. And we touch on we lean on different experts to make it as big and as wonderful as we possibly can. But if I boil it down, there's 3 pillars in our program. We have the community, we have the competition, and we have the academics, because all 3 are, in our minds, core and critical to a well-rounded and meaningful student experience. So we'll definitely talk about it more, but that's just kind of a high-level overview of our philosophy.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's go ahead and start digging in a little bit into sort of what are the career paths outside of being a gamer. This is such a huge question, but we got to start somewhere. So I'm just going to open it up. Any one of you want to talk about the different career paths that exist, or maybe the different categories and how your school approaches those? Go for it, Matt. I saw you unmute there.
All right, I'll start. There is just so many options, within the space. Gaming is one of the biggest industries in the world. The gaming industry is bigger than, global movies and U.S. sports combined. There are a ton of jobs out there related to this space, and esports, in more particular. Here at McMurray, we recruit and scholarship quite a few, non-gamer students. We recruit, data analytics people, we recruit graphic designers, we recruit shoutcasters, marketing kids. We also host, a handful of, intern students as well within our program. We had a marketing and a graphic design intern this semester. They ran most of our events and stuff for us. But there's just so many different things. Can I share my screen here for a second?
You should be able to.
Okay. Okay. Can we see that?
Oh, yes. Yes. We call this, we talk about this all the time. We call this the Candy Crush slide.
Yes. This is one of my favorite things. I have this printed out in poster size, and I use it all the time when I'm talking to, administrators, or I was actually supposed to meet with a city official this evening to talk about a citywide program for esports tied into STEM that they're wanting to start here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I use all the time. This is a great asset. This is the whole chart of the world for business directions that come off of esports specifically. We have all the education, administration, business stuff, sales and marketing, communications, social media, broadcasting, IT, media and organized events, like they do down at Sorry. There's just so many options and different directions that you can go in, that you can tie into esports, which is gaming, which is something that your students have a great affinity for, and they already own this space, so it's easy to get the buy-in from your students.
Mm-hmm.
I will, but I use this particular graphic all the time. I will drop this into chat and they can share that.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do. We talk about the same thing all the time. And it's because I think sometimes you just need your eyes open. People, when you say, esports or gaming, people who aren't in it just picture kids playing. And they picture, I would say, even like an antiquated view of kids playing, right? And there's so much to it now. So it's great to have that that outline. And actually at NASEF, we kind of, you may have seen this one as well, we kind of have a more manageable version, maybe I would say, of this, which is just, looking at 4 different domains of esports, and you've got strategists and content creators and entrepreneurs and organizers. And then of course, all of these, as you just showed in that giant slide there, this expands greatly. This diagram here is actually what we used as the model to create our curriculum. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but we have actually a 4-year English language arts curriculum approved by the state of California to be implemented in schools. And once you approve it in one state from one Department of Education, it's, it becomes much easier to back map it and get it approved in other places. But looking at these things and saying, hey, when you're in English 9, you could be learning, theories about crafting games and developing plot lines and characters in a game the same way that you can in a novel. And then the kids get so engaged in it because they love it. So we agree. We do something really similar in that outline of here are a bunch of different opportunities that you can pursue. And, we want to help kids be able to pursue those. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and share in the chat the link for that huge overview of all of those careers. Sari, you have at Full Sail, it's a pretty specialized, broad but specialized view of esports. So what kind of things do you focus on there?
So from our perspective, I know industry-wide, a lot of folks talk about esports in terms of like a vertical and talk about its newness, and they in conversations identifying it as a vertical. To me, when I think people do that, it limits what you can see as far as a career path. We look at esports as an evolution of the entertainment industry, and it really has taken off. And I honestly think at some point very soon, it's going to be the leader in the entertainment industry, the
sure.
leading focus in the entertainment industry. And so all of the careers and focus and pathways that you've seen to other entertainment careers, whether it's, the business of music and talent management, whether it's, all the different positions that would live on a film, all of those positions translate just as much to the esports space, with obviously the caveat of having the esports and gaming knowledge to it. So I think Matt hit the nail on the head when he was just sort of like, every single thing that you see, esports is the subject of what it is that you're doing. And so every traditional degree program, every traditional pathway from accounting to public relations, and then going through into the technical side of things, when it comes to broadcast and production, has all of those have roots in through esports. And I like to just always kind of really focus on that, because there was a period of time, and I do think we're kind of phasing out, where people felt like, well, I know esports and I love it, so where's my job? And that is so great. And I love so much that you love something. You still have to have skills, and you still have to have an education. You still have to really understand how to apply those skills. I'm sure people love going to the movies, and that does not make them able to be a director. And so kind of trying to make sure people understand that concept of, this is a legitimate industry, one that really requires the foundations that all other aspects of the industry do require, so that you can make a move and you can make impact. And highlighting again too, Claire, what you had brought up, the entrepreneurial component of esports is kind of something that really hasn't been seen by most other industries that we've had. And not entrepreneurial in the fact of, I'm starting my own team and we're going to compete, but entrepreneurial in the fact of personal branding taking the forefront, understanding the value of content creation. What we see forward facing is content creation as a whole has really replaced traditional advertising across the board throughout our industry and industries beyond. And esports leads with a content creation focus, and the amount of opportunity and value there in being able to provide both kind of what has replaced traditional marketing, traditional advertising, and being able to be a self-contained content creator and understand how that applies, is so unbelievably valuable and so unbelievably important. And that expands all the way out to the concept of personal branding, the concept of scheduling and routine, and the concept of understanding data and analytics, and how often you need to really be focusing on what that entrepreneurial component is, whether it's as a Twitch streamer, or whether it's as a tournament organizer, or whether it's as a facilitator of running all of these teams and these structures and organizations across the board. There are skills that have existed in other industries, and also skills that are unique to this industry that you can really start getting a handle on, because the opportunities, in my opinion, are completely endless. And I think what you guys have both highlighted, which is so important, is that there are these opportunities at every step of your career. So we don't just have to shoot for the top and get ready to go there. As you're 22 and you're graduating from college and you have your degree and you want to get started in esports, there is a world in front of you, and it's yours for the taking. Just prepare yourself in school, make sure you're getting the experience, make sure you're focusing on your degree program, and those two things combined, and you'll be ready. You'll be set.
Absolutely. I'm going to back you up a little step from what you just said, because you said you're 22 and you're graduating college. And so let's back up to high school, because we've got a lot of students watching who are, maybe 15, 16 in high school thinking about college. And so one thing I'm going to ask you all is a little bit of advice for those high school students. And also, Sarah, you talked about personal branding. And I think that this is really important for high schoolers to be aware. I don't know that you would necessarily use the word branding, but definitely there are eyes on what you say and do online, right? And so definitely you want to be aware of that. So let's just talk for a second. What advice do you have for high schoolers who are looking towards a collegiate program in esports, or honestly, really, just you want to get into a college? What kind of things do you do when you're in high school? Chris, you haven't talked for a while. Go for it.
All righty. Happy to do so. I think we're in a really, really amazing and wonderful time to be a high school student that is looking to get involved scholastically in college esports. I'm just going to toss a couple of statistics out here because statistics help take the anecdote and make it feel a little more powerful. Based on survey results from Esports Foundry, $21 million worth of scholarship was distributed last year to scholastic esports programs, which is incredible, right? As a high school student, that means I may not be number one in track and field, but just as Sari said and Matt said, there are so many opportunities for me as a high school student to get involved and train my passions. And so we are in a more inclusive time in the realm of scholastic esports than we ever have been before. So number one, $21 million worth of scholarships. So tell your parents and let, when they tell you to turn off your computer instead of one more game or dinner's ready or any of those typicals. The other thing that I would note is that think about it academically in terms of, where you want to go and what you want to be. Because as everyone has mentioned here within the opportunities within esports and outside, there is a level of finesse and there is a level of qualification that is required. We're no longer in the passion economy where simply wanting to do something qualifies and predicates the acceptance of such. But there is a silver lining. Also, we do note through research and through studies that 65% of students who are involved in esports clubs and programs have a higher GPA than those who don't. And that stems back onto the campus involvement and the importance of community, the importance of being involved. So if you enjoy gaming and you enjoy that part of your life, it makes more sense to enjoy it with others, and you can share the other parts of your life as well. So to kind of recap the two pieces of advice, number one, look for a scholarship if you need a scholarship. Personally, many people need scholarships. I think they're great. There are so many resources out there that will help you find those scholarships and connect you to people who want to nurture you. The second is focus on the academics as well, because when things turn out south, they're the best backup you can ever have is a solid GPA and a solid understanding of what it is that you want to do. But more importantly, that combined with your resume of being involved in a community and a program will help you stand out, whether it is you want to work and be a Full Sail graduate and enter the halls of Activision Blizzard or Riot Games, or you want to be a graduate of McMurray and maybe you want to work in food sciences, or you want to work in ag, or you want to work in energy, all of which are very healthy sectors in the state of Texas. The skills that you will learn, as Matt shared in the beautiful Medium graphic, which I also have printed, by the way, for us, will serve you very well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You mentioned something about, knowing what you want to do in esports and pursuing that. And I would just say right now, I think so many people working in this industry are so open to students and so welcoming, and we want to see everyone thrive and succeed. And I would just say, if you're a student and you see a job you're interested in, find that person on LinkedIn or in Tallo or whatever platform you use, on Twitch if they're streaming, or whatever it is, find them and ask a couple questions and get to know, what is it actually really like to be, whether you're Matt or Sari or Chris, who's working in a college helping to run an esports program for students, or I see Doug Konopelko commented in the chat here. And if you're Doug's working at CDW, which is a big hardware manufacturer, and he's connecting with schools and organizations around the United States that want to bring in esports. He, content creator. There are all these different opportunities, and people are so open right now to share their knowledge and see quality people come in and fill the esports world. That definitely, don't be afraid to reach out and try to make some personal connections. Those will hold you forever. And I know when you're in high school, it can be a little intimidating, but just go for it. It's worth it, I promise.
Yeah, I'll even add to that as if you're in high school and you don't know what to say and you don't know what to ask and you don't know, you want to reach out, but you don't know what to say. join communities, find your communities, go through Discord, find any community that you can, whether it's associations with nearby high schools, whether it's starting communities within your own high school, whether it's finding larger groups that are holding communities that are something you're interested in, like, Queer Women of Esports, or any of these groups that have that. Joining the community, that those are your peers. Those are the people that are trying to do and get into the space the same way that you are. It's a wonderful place to ask questions, to help you prepare to reach out to Doug, or to help you prepare to know what that organization is going to be. When you know this is something that you love, and you know that this is something that you really want to pursue as a career, then take a pause from playing and find those communities and connect them and play with them, and playing with your friends obviously is so great, but that's where you're going to attend their panels, meet their people, organize and sit with them. And then you'll figure out what the things are that you might want to do, and the questions are that you would want to ask when you do have the opportunity to connect with someone like Doug. It's a great place to start if you're like a further back and you don't totally know exactly what to say yet,
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and this is just a map of all the locations that NASEF has clubs around the United States. So that might help you. If you're in an area with a club already and there are, thousands of them, then you might be able to plug into something close to you. And Matt, we mentioned earlier that you're part of TechSEF, which is the regional affiliate there in Texas. What other advice do you have for students who are interested in, they're just thinking ahead to college? How do I make myself look the best when I'm doing a college application?
I think a lot of it is just to be involved with stuff, and kind of looking at these graphics and stuff that we've shared, that knowing that whatever your interest is, you can almost certainly tie it back into gaming or esports. I came from the high school realm as well. I started esports in high school. I actually worked in IT and did game design and game development and stuff like that. We actually started esports, and when I started it, I wanted it to be tied into CTE stuff, and I took over a practicum marketing class that had like 2 people in it the previous year. And then we rebranded it for esports, and this class is responsible for running our esports program. And, that following year, 17% of the high school signed up for that class. There's a huge amount of ownership, just kind of that realization that, marketing and business, that's all esports and stuff too. All these things go together, whatever your interest is. Every year here at McMurray, I challenge them, whatever your major is, I can find you somebody in the esports industry for that. I had a pre-med kid student last year, and, I went and found GamerDoc because I come talk to us, please. And she's like, sure. Now she works for Evil Geniuses and, all that other stuff. And she's an amazing person. Same with like psychology, here at just in Dallas, we have a group called Geek Therapeutics. They use gaming and D&D and stuff like that as part of their practice, as an easier way to connect with people. Whatever it is, you can somehow tie it back into gaming and, STEM career kind of stuff, just make those efforts. If you have, programs at your campus, go get involved. One of the really interesting things about having an esports program is you get a lot of B-type personalities that come into it. The non-social types that have never been in team sports before necessarily, they come in here and you kind of wonder, I don't know if that kid's ever going to talk, kind of worried about that one. But then 3 weeks later, they realize, I'm surrounded by a bunch of nerds that play video games. It's fun. And then they come out of their shell. And it's great. It's a great environment for this sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We hear that all the time from students who, they join the esports club, and then all of a sudden they're like, I found my people. I've been at this school for so long, kind of feeling like I'm doing my own thing. And then all of a sudden there's an esports club or team, and they join it, and then they connect with others, and they're like, wow, you have the same interests that I do. You build friendships, and then that also is a game changer just for school in general. And Chris, you mentioned the research that demonstrates grades go up, attendance goes up. I mean, if you like being at school, you're going to do better there, right? So I think those are all great examples. So what kind of degree programs do your schools offer? Or if a student wants to pursue we kind of brainstormed on a list, and I guess I'm just going to read through a few of these and we can chat about them and then possibly change to others. But things like broadcasting, graphic design, social media, we talked about content creation. What kind of education do you pursue to have a career in that? And how does that play out at your schools?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll start this one off because we're growing, and so you'll get the novice opinion, and then we'll come in with the expert opinion afterwards. I'll be honest, academically and in terms of degrees and things like that, we are building academic integration with our program and our initiative now. We're not going to create an esports degree at this time, but we will be creating a esports certificate as well as a games certificate for elective purposes and for the students that are there. Our university by default has a well-accredited media program called CCM, which also has a digital media collaborative as well. We have a wonderful arts program through DAP, which is tied in as well with many of our students are part of the program that do that. We believe, though, with our program that just as Matt's graphic showed, that it encompasses everything. And so our academic consortium, while led by the dean of the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, truly touches everything from arts and sciences to theater to on the broadcasting side and talent development and broadcasting and media and marketing and business, even women's gender studies. It has a positive implication, a positive impact, and deserves to be part of the conversation. No matter where you stand academically, there are hard and soft skills that you can learn and benefit from in the context of the community that you're a part of. And that's one of the things that I think is so beautiful about esports, is that it takes that sport component and extrapolates it in a way that traditional sports, quite frankly, can't. Possibilities are endless.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, and you mentioned, Chris, you said we don't have an actual esports degree, but I'm going to say I don't think that any hiring manager right now at, fill in the blank of whatever organization it is that you strive to work for, I don't think that they're looking specifically for an esports titled degree. I think they're looking for relevant education and relevant experience, and you can get relevant experience. I mean, honestly, starting in the 8th grade. I mean, we're running Minecraft competitions for middle schoolers, and to apply to enter this, they build something in Minecraft, they iterate it, and then they submit a video where they're describing what they built, what they learned, how they work together as a team. So think of all the skills that are being developed in this video that they're submitting when they're in middle school. And then you just keep building and building and building on that. And so I think, that's something that I would say to students is don't necessarily look just for the esports degree, look for the interest area that you have, and then look for the education that's going to match that. And one thing also we haven't brought up in this group, but in other conversations with esports leaders in NACE, is we've talked about just making sure that you find the school that's the right fit for you, right? We have 3 different states represented here. They're all very different. We have 3 different kinds of campuses. Sari described theirs as pretty non-traditional, Matt said, tens of thousands of students, I think, was it? And so did Chris. No, it was Chris's. That was a big campus.
48,
yeah. So, there are all different aspects to the campus as well. So you've got a couple different things you want to look at, not just what do you want to study, but also what do you want the environment that you're in to be like, and make sure you're matching that up as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big thing I'll say that's specific to esports, everything everybody's saying is so right. You're not here. You don't need an esports degree to work in esports, because every degree in every industry kind of really connects and ties to it. The one thing I would recommend specific to esports is trying to, if you have a specific path that you want to grow in, we'll take graphic design as an example, and that's something you want to do, graphic design for esports. You're going to really want to focus on environmental graphics and what that live event perspective is that comes to fruition. You're going to want to understand from a branding perspective what your graphic overlays are going to, how they're going to tie to your in-person experience, because you're always going to be looking at two different things at the same time that need to be connected to from some brand. But above all, the thing that makes it valuable, if you know early on, especially like at the high school level or at the 8th grade level, that this is a space that you want to be in, knowing and constantly keeping yourself aware of the esports space and how it relates to what you're using. So being the best graphic designer that there could ever possibly be and now understanding how it applies to esports is not going to help you get yourself elevated within the esports space. So because the industry is still growing and because the industry is still taking shape, we're not looking at crews and teams of 4,000 people, and we have 7 designers, and this one focuses on this design and this one focuses on that design, like you might see in industries that have had and been formed for quite some time. So always take what you're learning in school and apply it back to what you're seeing in the industry and what you're seeing in real life. So as you're going through, whether it's graphic design, content creation, social media, anything in between, from production, accounting, public relations, anything that you're seeing that you're going in this space and you know you want it to be in esports, it's up to you to reinvest yourself and your time into learning about the esports space every day, because what it was a week ago is not what it is today, and it will continue to be like that for quite some time. So take the skills that you're learning in school and watch an old LCS something and say, oh, that's what they did there. I know exactly how they did that, because I just learned that those are the overlays that they probably submitted to the production manager that sent them out. And oh, I see a glitch. Oh, there was a hiccup. Oh, there was a thing. Oh, how are they loading all the teams in? Who's managing them from like a business and logistics perspective? Continuously take your education and use it in real time by tying it back to the industry that you want to be a part of. And it'll elevate everything that you're learning in school to be specific to the industry that you want to work in. And make sure after you graduate high school, graduate college, or never graduate because you keep going to school forever, all of those things are great, but you will always have to be educating yourself if you want to work in esports every single day. There is no break. There is no time off. You can't learn everything there is to learn about esports and then go off and run in a career in this space. It is an evolving space, and it's a phenomenal and fantastic place to be, but you got to be willing to have an evolving mindset to go along with it. And so knowing how to transfer your skills is really, really important.
That's true. And if that feels a little intimidating to you, if you're in high school, like just roll with it, right? Just keep going. No, don't be sorry. It's excellent advice. But I just, like, it's a day by day thing, right? It's not like all of a sudden now I'm the expert and then I have to stay the expert forever. No, you grow a day at a time and you develop a day at a time. You find that mentor or that person who can help you and bring you along. Matt, I'm going to go back to your background again, where it says Beyond the Game. NASEF runs Beyond the Game challenges, where we say, if you have an interest in graphic design, participate in one of these challenges and demonstrate your interest in graphic design. And then we'll give you a mentoring session with somebody who works in the industry so that you can continue to develop those skills. And I think that's so important, Sari. What you said, super vital. And just, don't be overwhelmed by that. Just take it a day at a time, a step at a time.
Yeah, kind of going back to like the overwhelmingness of the never-ending learning and always having to keep up with it. I mean, you just got to think of it in terms of gaming. Your favorite game gets patch notes every couple weeks. That's how the industry works as well. Mm-hmm. You're always having to relearn your game. You're always having to relearn your job as well. I know a lot of the younger kids don't do Twitter anymore, but esports is kind of heavily Twitter. Go find these professionals and follow them, and you can learn things from them, and you can probably reach out to them and they will probably talk to you. This is such an easy industry to reach out and talk to people. And, I've never been told no, to invite any sort of professional, Team Envy or professionals that are in the space to just, come to my Discord, talk to my students, about what it is you do and why it's awesome. People want this industry in this space to thrive because everybody loves this space. Everybody plays games.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
As far as us, I'm not as cool as the other two. We're just a small rural school, but, we don't have a whole lot of programs that necessarily like technological side kind of ties back to esports. We do have like graphic design. We have a lot of good art stuff, but we do try to integrate with, whatever other programs are needing projects to do. Like, last semester we worked with a marketing promotions class and they helped us run our Children's Miracle Network fundraiser campaign kind of stuff. And that was their major semester project, because this is still lab space. We finally got a new professor who started teaching animation, and it's starting new stuff like that at such a small school is such a huge thing for a college. And I'm like, don't be afraid to build out this program. Please come use my lab during school hours if you need space and you're worried about having a space or the technology or something to do these things. Let's be friends, because it'll help both of us at the end, because we're all kind of recruiting the same kind of nerdy kids anyways. So it's making these connections, just like within esports industry, and how there's so many different jobs you can tie into so many other different programs on a campus.
Right. Exactly. So Chris, we've spent a lot of time talking about various aspects of content creation, but your role is pretty interesting at University of Cincinnati, where it's a little bit more STEM focused. And STEM, I'm sure everyone watching knows the acronym, but I feel like I have to say anyway: science, technology, engineering, and math. So can you describe a little bit what you're doing and how your school focuses on that?
Yeah. So this is a philosophical concept that's how I kind of present it. But within our initiative, our program, we see esports as a authentic vehicle to not only incubate talent being students. We talked briefly earlier about the academic achievement of students. I think everyone on this panel would agree that our students are good students. They are well achieving and high achieving and ambitious and driven, as are all core components of being involved in the industry. But we want to aggregate that talent, and then we want to export that talent. And so one of the things that we have with the University of Cincinnati is the Cincinnati Innovation District that partners directly with a number of large businesses within not only the city of Cincinnati, but the state of Ohio as well. And many of these businesses actually have offices on campus. So Fortune 500s and Fortune 100s have offices on campus in which they can connect directly with students and work with them on challenges and projects and work studies and co-ops, and yes, full-time jobs as well. And we see the intersection of that to be of great value, not only to the students, but also to the brands as well, that need to learn about things such as, on a business level, the attention economy and the phenomenon of Twitch in terms of the change of the migration of viewership, and, basic things like that. But also, quite frankly, Fifth Third Bank really needs software developers right now. But if you have a software developer that can understand social media and has concepts that we teach universally, such as sportsmanship and dedication and brand management, and can talk communications with another department, that person is infinitely more valuable than someone who just came straight out of comp sci. And we know that, and our research has shown that, and the reception of brands has been mind-blowing. And so that's kind of one of our main focuses, is not just, a large part of it, as we mentioned, our three pillars, is the student experience. You're here to go to college, you're here to get a degree, but you're here to have an engaging and fun experience. And ultimately, that's why we all as directors have so much fun, because it's just video games, right? At the end of the day, no need to get political about it. But at the same time, there's so many applications that come from it that can change people's lives and add value to the lives that they will touch. To us, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great perspective. I'm going to share real quick a graphic that we developed. We've worked really closely with University of California, Irvine, over the last 4 years in researching. Chris, you've mentioned research a few times, and that's really important to us, that we don't just say this seems like a good way that we're going to do things, but we look into it deeply. And so if you look at this, our research has shown, and this is IRB approved research from University of California, Irvine, has shown that students are gaining in things like STEM engagement, career interest, participating in activities, career knowledge, and identity, which you need to know what STEM career you might go into if you're going to develop an identity around it and study it, right? So these are all connected together. They're learning important aspects of science and math and English language arts, and they're developing social emotional skills as well. And so, you know, all of these things, it's kind of crazy sometimes, I think, when you realize, like, this is esports, like you said. I mean, at the end of the day, this is video games, and yet so much is growing from it. It's just, to me, it's so rewarding to be able to be part of this and see these developments that these students are making. Just phenomenal. I'm going to drop in the chat. We have a handful of infographics like that one on our learning page. So I'm going to just drop a link in the chat there, just so that if anybody wants to take a look at those later, they can. You mentioned something else, Chris, earlier about developing soft skills. That's so important. How can esports, well, first off, someone define soft skills for us, and then how can esports help you develop those?
Yeah, I'll just kind of put in my personal definition. You know, the hard skills are the skills that we are trained throughout our career, and those are, you know, those are our skills. I am a graphic designer. I am a motion artist. I am a political scientist. I am a computer programmer. Those are hard skills. The soft skills are the things that we learn throughout our lives, such as teamwork, sportsmanship, communication, you know, how one reacts to body language, how one reacts in the workplace, you know, consideration of DEI, the expansion of our understanding and how we interact with those around us too. And, you know, the list goes on and on. But I think that in today's digital world and in today's very globalized world, I would argue that soft skills have a high priority place in the workforce. You know, they help determine your cultural fit in an organization. And, you know, within our community, we seek to live by the Bearcat guidelines, the Bearcat motto, our code of conduct, to ensure that the students that are participatory in the things that we do, whether it's being in our broadcasting studio and learning production, or if it's playing on our team and playing in the NACE Star League, we want to make sure that those students are representing themselves in the university in a good way and building those good habits, so that as they mature and become, you know, adults that move forward in their professional life, they take those habits with them for the betterment of all.
Excellent. Oh, Sari, I think you're muted there.
You would think after 2 years of doing this, I would know to unmute myself. But
we all have that moment.
I don't. Something I tell a lot of folks at Full Sail that are kind of coming through in trying to, you know, help develop those soft skills. Chris made some amazing points about like how valuable they are and how long they stay with you through your life. And there's a ton of ways, obviously, for you to access resources and education and materials that can kind of help develop that. Specifically to esports, I find them to be tremendously important and valuable, and a big source of what a lot of these jobs are based on. And if we're looking for like a direct reaction of how do I develop my soft skills, or really what can I look for to do, I always recommend trying to find experience in community management, chat moderation. Those will give you life lessons in reactions and behaviors and communications and staying calm and being strategic that will help you jumpstart that side of your life of knowing what skills you want to develop. Everybody needs them. It will be a huge learning tool, learning on the job and being able to do that. But the experience that you can have in something like community management, chat moderation, and tournament organization, and dealing with people behavior and that, even if it's at a small Buffalo Wild Wings Smash tournament, whatever that conversation is, being able to experience that and have to tap into your inner self of why does this person keep spamming our chat? And what am I going to say? Because there's a lot that I want to say. And now what am I actually going to say? And being able to understand that is a really great way, just simplistically, to kind of get started. And a lot of folks will let you shadow. There's a lot of productions that'll do that. You can do it remotely from your home. And it's a really great way to understand like how to channel and how to tap into what those developing soft skills might be and how they would apply to the esports space.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Matt, not soft skills necessarily, but something that I know is really important to you, and it's really important that we focus on and talk about in the gaming world, and that is health and mental health. And we talked a little bit about this. And can you just tell us a little bit what you're doing at McMurray and why this is so important in the world of esports?
Well, I think mental health is still socially one of the things we kind of ignore. I think we're starting to get a little bit better at it, and the younger generations, they're very open to the idea, talking about it, having conversations about it. You learn about, how to use your brain from academics. You learn about, physical skills from, athletics, but nobody teaches you how to be a human. And that's kind of an important part of growing up and going out into the real world and getting a job. Kind of ties back into all these SEL skills and stuff as well. Just learning how to be human, and you have emotions, and you're going to have to deal with that. There's nothing you can do about it. But this is a great space for that, just because I think partly within esports you get a lot of B-type personalities where they're not so social, and then they get put into this environment where it's such a high communication, a highly social environment, that it just opens all sorts of teachable moments. And this is a very stressful environment as well, especially at the collegiate level. It's the first time away from home from mom, first time playing on a team before, first time having other people relying on you to do your job within a team. There's a lot of stressors there, and it may be the first time they've really ever had to deal with these sort of things. So it is a very open environment that we have about it. We actually are the only program on campus that has their own mental health coach for our teams. She talks to each of the teams every week. It's starting to become more normal at the professional level as well. Just burnout and tilt and all that sort of stuff is, it's all mental, emotional kind of issues. There's no reason for like professional, esports professionals to, be burning out after 4 or 5 years. It's just, we haven't got to that point yet of, coming to grasp that, mental health is something that's important. But yeah, that's one of our pillars of our program. We keep notebooks, all of the team members for goal setting, and our mental health expert makes use of those, as well as our athletic trainer and our fitness coach as well. We kind of keep track of all that stuff and track progress and, SMART goals and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the mental health aspect for sure has definitely been one of the brightest spots that we've gotten out of our program. We even have a weekly mental health and gaming stream called Support Alt, because there's just this whole plethora of games out there that were designed specifically to explore certain emotions and, and just stuff like that. And, then we sit around and, talk about it afterwards. We've got a good psychology program here on campus, very supportive counseling system. And, we can all kind of get together and chat about the games and, what does all that mean? And, especially with COVID and all this, it's been a very stressful few years, for a lot of our students.
Yeah, there's nobody whose last few years has been remotely close to normal, right? And so I think it's so important to talk about that rather than just say, okay, we're going to pick up and carry on now because, now we seem to be back to normal, where it's all just craziness. So we have at NASEF, we developed something that a lot of our clubs are using, and it's a gamers check-in. And essentially it covers the mental health and then also, the overall health aspect. And we encourage our clubs to use this, and this is free on our website. But, looking at the am I doing what I need to do to grow personally? Are you taking care of your responsibilities in managing your growth as a student. Are you active every day? Very important. And that is definitely a stereotype of gamers and esports, right? That we would love to break. And that is that, everybody just sits around playing games all the time. No, you got to be active to be healthy. Are you sleeping enough and relaxing enough to recharge your mind and be able to play your games and also go to school and get good grades? I mean, we're talking a lot to students here, right? And sleep is super important. Very underrated by most students. I would say it's really important. You appreciate that more as you get older. I will say that. What is your physical environment like? Every time I ask this, I look around at my desk and I go, yeah, I got to clean up a little bit here. But your physical environment does impact how you play, how you learn. So being aware of that. What are your relationships like? And we've said it's great that with these esports clubs now, a lot of kids who maybe didn't have a place before to nurture relationships with others that they liked in person, right? A lot has been happening online, but now with these clubs in your schools and these teams in your schools, you can connect to somebody at school and get to know them on a more personal level as well. And then sustenance, of course. Are you eating well? Always super important to be eating well, to be drinking water and all of those things. So just really appreciate that your school and the steps that you're taking as far as having that, that mental health support for the students. And I know we've met with lots of different people. I've talked a lot with the exercise physiologist that works at UC Irvine. And I know, many schools have someone who's helping support the physical side of health for the gamers. And it's really cool that you're taking the step and supporting that mental health as well. So we are coming up on time. So I'm just going to ask for a quick round robin. If you each could give some advice. We have students and educators and parents watching. So for parents watching, their kids like esports, they're thinking about it as a career or thinking about it as a college path. Maybe they're freaking out a little bit because they don't understand it completely. What advice would you give to a parent? And Matt, let's go ahead and start with you.
I'll just say again that, the gaming industry is larger than the global movie industry and U.S. sports combined. It is a huge space. There are a bazillion opportunities out there. Esports, more specifically, it's still kind of new and growing into its own, and it's only going to continue growing and, advancing in different directions. It will become the norm for colleges to have esports programs. It will become the norm for high school to have esports programs for so many of the, benefits that we've already discussed here tonight. Don't be afraid of, video games as an industry.
Yeah. Sari?
I love everything that Matt just said. And it's that the best way to start is to do this with your kids. Like you had mentioned at the beginning, just pivoting from this is a time waster and shifting more towards teach me about what you're doing. Tell me about this. Let me see what this is a really, really, really great way to start. It seems overwhelming to tackle and understand, but let your kid teach you, and let them kind of go through it with you. Everything that Matt said is 100% right. The industry here is huge. It's a viable career path. And not only that, their careers, their skills that are transferable globally. So they're not specific to, this is a video game job. It's a job that is transferable amongst multiple industries in something that they really, really love to do. And so joining forces together, understanding that, learning that, and asking as many questions as you can, I think is really the best way to start. But there's a tremendous amount of information out there, and there's a tremendous amount of parents in the same situation as they are. And so find them. COPE, it provides a lot of really great resources, Coalition of Parents in Esports, that can help if you're like, explain what this is to me. I just want to understand. There's a ton of groups out there that'll help do it, and learn with your kid.
Yeah, COPE is a great partner of ours. We love what they're doing. And, like you said, there are lots of different places to connect. We have a Facebook group just for parents of gamers and kids in esports. So that's another place. If I would imagine most parents are on Facebook. That's another place where you can connect with others and sort of learn about what's happening in different parts of the country and the world and different things that kids are participating in. Chris, any additional words of wisdom for the parents?
Yeah. So when your kid says, "Mom, one more game," make sure they're playing an esport, and then say yes. If they're not playing an esport, then tell them to go downstairs and dinner's ready. But
okay, define the difference.
but in all seriousness, we are in a brand new time where the connotation of what gaming has stood for those for us is different than what it is now, and the accessibility and the resources that are available to help nurture that are different than what it was then. And so the connotation and the stigmata historically is gone.
Yep.
And I would just challenge all high school parents watching this to be open-minded, and to do a little bit of research and to follow your children on Twitch in the games that they play. Just try to learn a little bit about them, and then ask them if this is something that they want to participate in. And if the answer is yes, then I highly recommend being there as the adult mentor in their lives to help them find the school that is appropriate for them, and the program that is right for them, and the communities that will help elevate them, because the decisions that they make while they're young will help shape them just like all others for the rest of their life. And I believe that the opportunities that we have to educate and empower your children will definitely be positive choices for them moving forward. So highly consider to be open-minded and just to learn about what it is that your children are so excited about.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, as a parent of teens, I would say the ability to watch your child do something that they love and see them thrive in it is just amazing. I mean, it is just amazing to me to watch my kids do the things they love, and I want to foster that. I want to help that grow. And I would just encourage parents that, I mean, you're hearing from us, and if you go back over the recordings, we've heard from 3 collegiate esports experts now every month for, I'd say, at least the last 6 months. And listen to them, look at the size of the industry. This is for real, and it's a great place to be. It really is. And so, don't be afraid to stand with your kids and encourage them. It's so much fun. As Sari said, it's growing like crazy right now. So you really do have to, fasten your seatbelt and prepare for the ride, because it is a bit of a crazy one right now. But oh my goodness, there's so much opportunity. And if your kids love it, this is probably where they should be. I can't thank you enough. This was such a fantastic conversation. Thank you all for the input and the wise words that you have shared. I'm sure lots of people are going to go back and be watching the recordings of these and, listen again to that certain part or the other part, because there were so many different things that were so helpful. We will do this again next month in May. On May 12th, we'll be talking about community partnerships. And how different colleges are partnering within their communities. And so that is definitely something to watch and take part in. If you look at the chat, the last couple of links that I dropped there, one is for COPE, because we had lots of mention of COPE, the Coalition of Parents in Esports. So you've got a link there. And then also to NACE, which is this fantastic collegiate esports organization that all of these schools and hundreds of others are part of. And so you can find lots of resources at their website. And then also NASEF, if you're looking for the high school scene, that's where to find it. So thank you all for your time. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you.